episode 101. What is happening? Welcome into the live production of the Client by Client podcast. We'll get started here in a little less than 50 seconds talking about freedom comes from structure. Coming off of yesterday's episode 100, where we got deep. We talked about things that are meaningful in your online business. Hope you tuned into that. Today on the podcast, it's the 22nd. That means that do you need landing pages to get clients in 2023? Just went live. Go and get that. There have been some episodes getting some very positive reviews from you guys, so I super appreciate that. Bunches of them waiting for you, 100 of them almost queued up. In fact, episode 92 just went live. Go and snag that in Apple Podcast or Spotify, or you can find it in your favorite podcast player by going to pod.link/clients. Let's hop in and let's record and get episode 101 going. Hey, what's up? Jeremy here from whatupjeremy.com, back with another episode of Client by Client. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big day on yesterday's podcast. Episode 100 just went live. Big thanks to all of you for being here, for you listening right now. If you didn't check it out, be sure to go back. We talked about what your deepest and most meaningful work is as an online coach. And it's not your legacy, it's not success stories or impact, and it's not revenue. It's not what you're probably thinking that it is. To get all the juicy details, head back to episode 100 and find out what your most meaningful and deepest work is. On today's episode, we're talking about how freedom and why freedom comes from structure. Want to drive this one home today? Let's hop in and let's talk about this. Let's start by talking about what happens if you don't get this right. The first thing that happens if you don't get this right is that you are the subject and you become the subject of chaos in your business and in your life. And that's frustrating because no matter what you do, no matter how much action you take, no matter what you implement, you are chained to the business at all times. The second thing that happens is that you never get to experience the true freedom in your business that your business has to offer in business or in life. And that's frustrating because you can never travel or truly enjoy it, never have enough personal or family time, and you can never grow as much as you would truly like. Freedom comes from structure. Let's hop in and let's talk about how to actually get this right. First is you have to know that freedom comes from discipline, and discipline comes from structure. So if you want to get this freedom thing right, if you want to be able to be more in control in your time, if you want to have full autonomy about when you work on your business, where you work on your business, about how much free time you have, about how much time you have for your family, for your friends, for your own self-development, for your self-care, it's important that you really take this whole discipline and structure thing seriously. And what's great about this is that structure and discipline do not sound like fun words, but all fun is unlocked when you have true discipline and true structure in your business and in your life. Couple places that you probably want to start in, or if you're already doing these, re-examine and refocus so that you can drill this deeper and take this to the next level. And I think this all starts with your day and it starts with your calendar. And what you really need to start taking into account is what are you doing on a day-to-day basis and how are you structuring your week? What components need to go in at the beginning of the week to make sure that at the end of the week and at the end of the month, at the end of these next 12 months, this next year, that you're accomplishing your goals, that you're accomplishing your vision and bringing it to life in the way that you are envisioning it, in the way that you know that you are truly capable. The next place that you need to be focusing on discipline and in structure is in your thoughts. And I know that over the last 100 episodes, and specifically over these last 20 or 30, we've been talking more and more about mindset. And it needs, like, not goes without saying, it needs to be said that if you have negative thoughts that creep in and doubt and frustration that creeps in when it comes to how you're growing your business and how you feel about your online business and how you feel about yourself, those things are going to prevent you from being able to move and navigate freely as an entrepreneur, let alone deliver for your clients as an online coach. And the way you feel about your business dictates your point of attraction. And if you are looking through everything through a lens of doubt, through a lens of frustration, through a lens of not thinking that you are capable, you are embedding those seeds into everything that you do. And so you're going to have fruit that ends up growing, but that fruit is not going to look like the type of fruit that you're going to want to consume. And when you start to take a fine look at the thoughts that you are having, which ones are negative and make you feel bad, and which ones are more neutral or positive, and allow for you to feel good, the more that you can become aware of and selective of the thoughts that you are having and the thoughts that will be most productive for getting you to where you want to be. So it's important and must be stated that you have to start structuring your thoughts a little bit better. I am not against you having affirmations, whether that's feeling silly and saying them in the mirror, if you feel silly saying them in the mirror, if that's writing them down, if that's meditating on certain ones of them, or concentrating on your breath and thinking through these things, or visualizing. Whatever tool you find as a way to connect to the highest and best version of yourself, I'm a fan of. And don't let anyone else allow for their projections for you to feel silly or for you to feel like those things are not necessary. Because the fact of the matter is if you're not confident enough to show up for your work at your full capacity that you're able to today, then you're increasing the chances that you're just not going to show up. And yes, showing up at 1% is better than not showing up at all at 0%. The more that you can start to find confidence and find enjoyment in what you're doing, and the more you guide your thoughts and feeling in the direction of you feeling good about you showing up and starting to move your confidence 1% every single day in the direction of your dreams and your visions, the higher the likelihood you're going to get to a point of not only being able to work hard and work smart, but having what you hear all the entrepreneurs talking about right now, all the books that you're reading, all the mentors, they talk about how much work it actually takes. They talk about not needing the visualizations and affirmations and meditation, all of those things, and how they just get going. Well, there's something in them that has created a confidence. And that confidence cannot happen unless you're showing up. And you can increase the speed of you getting the confidence and the ultimate proof that you are who you say you are by examining your thoughts and proving the negative thoughts wrong, or better, faster, changing those thoughts into closer to truth. And what that means is guiding your thoughts and your feelings little by little into the direction of being more positive, in the direction of you actually feeling good. And when you get to feeling good, you can start to feel confident. And when you start to show up just 1% more confident every single day, and that starts to happen over weeks and months and years, you wind up becoming that person who maybe doesn't need the affirmations in the mirror to be chanting them into. And maybe you don't need as much focusing in on your breath, and maybe you don't need as much examination on your thoughts, because you start to become that person and you start to become those thoughts that you are repeating yourself throughout the day. You also need to be adding structure into your plans. When you have an idea for something, when you're going to implement a project, when you're coming across the next strategy that you're going to be implementing in your online business, you got to stop just going about implementing and spraying and praying and saying, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to add this new strategy in. I'm going to start my Facebook group. I'm going to start my podcast. And you got to stop just flying by the seat of your pants. If that gets you started and going and brainstorming, totally cool. But what you got to start doing is thinking about how you're going to be, like, what is the end goal? And maybe that is, let's take starting a podcast as the example. And I'm not here saying go and start a podcast. But if that's the example, then you got to start breaking that down into steps that you can start to take. And when you start to do this planning thing, you don't have to stick to the plan, but magic happens when you actually focus in on the planning. That's where all of the magic happens. There's nothing to be said for the plan, and it's all in the planning, because what winds up happening is that you start to align your thoughts. You start to figure out what's going to be worth your time and what is not. And when you can start to figure out what's going to have the highest and most impact, and you start to break that down into baby steps, you're going to start laying the groundwork for making strategic decisions and for analyzing one project or implementation or strategy against the other. And when you start to think like that, and when you can see things in black and white, and when you plan things out, even if you don't end up implementing them, what you end up finding is that good things take a lot more time than just getting going. And getting going is fine, but the professional understands that when you create a plan and you stick with the plan, you can make better decisions and more informed decisions along the way, because you're thinking ahead and you're thinking from the end. And there is so much value in you thinking from the end, in the smallest of the plans that you're wanting to create, all the way to the biggest ones in your life. For more on that, be sure to backtrack one episode to episode 100 to hear just a little bit more on that, if that resonates with you, if that's piquing your interest just a little bit. Second, you have to start managing the minute and managing the moment. When you start to manage the moment, you start to become more aware of your thoughts and your feelings. And this is going to allow for you to better change those to be thoughts and feelings that are more conducive to being the person that you are aiming at being. This game of entrepreneurship is not where you arrive and all of a sudden everyone accepts you and you accept yourself and you are the role model and you are the leader. There is a little bit of talking the talk, but what's more important is walking the walk. And you can start to walk that walk if you can envision yourself 3, 5, 10 years down the road and saying, what would you be doing at that endpoint? You can start to bring those things from the future into the present moment. And what ends up happening is that your confidence starts to lift, your planning, your discipline starts to get elevated. And then what winds up happening is that you get to that version of yourself guaranteed, and maybe you get there a little faster than you would have perceived. And if you can take those future moments and bring them into the present, now you have the recipe for starting to create far better actions that lead to far better outcomes in your online business. I want for you to think back to, if you haven't read, or if you have, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There is a exercise in there where Stephen Covey walks you through examining your day in 15-minute segments. And what this means is, like, if you don't have access to the book or you don't have the time to read it, I would highly recommend finding time to read through that multiple times, is carrying a piece of paper with you and logging down what you're doing at the end of every 15 minutes. And what winds up happening is that by the end of the day, you start to see all of the places where your energy is going, where you're losing time, where you could be getting more from your time. So this exercise for many of you will be the first time you've probably examined your time as an entrepreneur. Maybe you've had an employer do it. Maybe your employer has told you how to manage your time and dictated how you do it, so you just got good at it. But when you're doing this in your online business, it's easy to lose sight of the small things that really add up. I've been tracking every moment of my time since 2015, back when I was doing digital services for podcasters and helping them to build their email list. That's where I got my start, copywriting, email list building, and podcast services. And I had to figure out what my packages were worth and what my billable time was worth to bundle it into a package. And so I started using Toggle for just managing when I was working on a specific client's work. And I was doing these gives where I would create the whole thing for someone and use that as my pitch and say, hey, this is good enough where you can go and run with this and give it to your team, or you can email me back and I'd love to do it for you on your next episode. And so I'd create this like 10-minute presentation and I would time how long that took, along with when it came to closing the client and then getting started with the client, so that I could understand what my costs were for acquiring a brand new service client, as well as what my costs were in billable hours, so that I can make sure I was charging appropriately. And so I just started doing that with those billable projects. And then I started saying, wow, this would be really good to track the time I spend for my own business and looking at me as a client. And that's something I learned from Ben Settle, is you got to treat yourself as your number one client. So I said, if I'm a number one client, then why aren't I tracking when I'm writing blogs and emails and when I'm doing all these other things and systematic work in my business that's not directly related to an individual client? And then that led to now where I'm at, where I track down to the minute. I know how long I slept last night. I know how long it took me from the moment I woke up to the moment I got out of bed, and how long it took me to brush my teeth and drink my water with pink salt and with cayenne pepper and with lemon juice on it, and how long that took to me to getting to how long I stretched or meditated for, how long I walked to the gym. I know where every minute of my day goes because I got in the habit back in 2015 of tracking my time. You do not have to be like me unless you're so interested in measuring this very humanly earthly thing in this illusion that we have that is called time. But what you can start to do right now is carry a piece of paper with you, or your iPad or your notebook or your phone, whatever it is, and writing down what you're doing in 15-minute segments so that you can become more aware of it. You got to start managing the minute and managing the moment. And what this also means is transferring that onto your calendar. So right now, if you're not in the habit of following a calendar, what you can start to do is retroactively add things. This is how I got in the habit of it. Is I was saying, oh, for this last hour, I was doing this thing, and I would go back and add it. okay, what was I doing before? And then it's like, wow, did that take me only 30 minutes? Where did that other 30 minutes go? Wow, was I just scrolling on social media? Wow, was I just looking out into the ether? Wow, was I wasting my time on negative thoughts and feelings? And then what you start to say is, okay, what would I like to be doing? And you start to put those rocks into your calendar. And maybe you don't do them right out the gate, or maybe you do them and it gets a little hard and overwhelming, so you got to get back to it. And then you find out that, wow, if I want to be doing this thing, I should be doing it daily, because anything worth doing is worth doing daily, right? Then you start to make your appointments just recurring, so they automatically land in your calendar. And then you can see how many things you're avoiding, moving, or procrastinating up against. And then over time, you got to delete what doesn't stick, and then you add more of what does, and you find a way to manage yourself through your schedule. And I want for you to be so far into the future that it might be hard for you to accept social plans that are spur of the moment. And it might be hard for you to accept appointments that aren't sales calls, spur of the moment. And when you can start to do that, though, you're now not only just managing the minute, you're managing the future. And when you're thinking with the end in mind, because that's in a direct alignment with thinking with the end in mind, you're now creating the future in this present moment, which is all we have, my friends. The future is just a compilation of the current nows. And the more that you can focus in on what you need to be doing now, and then what's worth doing every single day, and what you need to be doing 10 years from now, you can start to bring those things into the present moment and walking that walk right now. The second thing you have to do is manage your minute and manage the moment. Third, if you've been getting any value from this episode so far, take a screenshot, post it to your story, tag me at WhatUpJeremy. I would love to return the favor by resharing you out to my audience. And the only way this show grows is with your help. We don't run ads. We don't do anything like that. We haven't done interviews, not saying that I won't, but we don't do interviews or anything of that nature on the show. So you paying that forward means a lot and helps more online coaches, entrepreneurs, and experts to discover this show. Third, lastly, how you do anything is how you do everything. And what I want for you to start thinking is, if how you do anything is how you do everything, then what does your AM routine look like? What does your day, what do you look like in the morning? Because if you start slow, you're going to start getting slow results, and you're going to operate slow in your online business. And when you can find a way to work yourself into a state of positivity early in the day, that's going to then carry you through the day. When you start to build your confidence in a way, maybe it starts with affirmations and visualizations, and then it leads to you actually becoming the embodiment of that. Now you're going to wake up on a daily basis and be confident enough to spring out of bed and to just get going, and not to be avoiding the most important things in your business: selling, creating case studies, delivering to your clients, right? There's so many of these spinning plates that we got to be doing. But when you can structure your mind and then structure your discipline in a way where these things start to happen of their own accord, now you have the recipe for a business that just grows on its own. You have the recipe for a life that you truly enjoy and that you don't want to be escaping from. So how you do anything is how you do everything. And this all starts with, what does the first hour of your day look like? What does the first 10 minutes of your day look like? What does the first minute of your day look like? And if you are immediately going to your phone and going into scrolling on social media and looking at the world's agenda for you in your email inbox, looking at fear-based news articles that do nothing for you because you have no control over what's going on in the world, and you instead start to think through what would make you feel really good about yourself, about the world, and about the day ahead, now you're starting to curate your reality by curating your environment. And when you start to curate your environment and you curate your reality, then your reality and your environment start to curate you. If you are disciplined and structured in your business, I implore you and I challenge you and I call you to the task of bringing that into your personal life. And if you are disciplined and structured in your personal life, then I challenge you and I implore you to bring that to your business and create this symbiotic relationship. So if you're using spreadsheets and task managers in your business, what would that look like to make sure that you can do that in your life, so that you're doing even the fun stuff, but you're doing it systematically? And if you're already good at doing the fun stuff and the social stuff with your friends, and you can keep up with all of them and your TV shows and all that, but you're not doing that in your business, then how do we take a piece of that personal life and bring it over into your business, so that you're also doing self-development, so that you're working on your mind, so that you're focused on your guided breath throughout the day and becoming aware of the present moment? In the next episode of Client by Client, episode 102, we're going to talk about why you got to stop waiting for motivation and just get started. Be sure to come back tomorrow to listen in to that. Whenever you are ready, here are 3 ways I can help you grow your online business. First, download your free copy of GetBookedCRM. Coaches are used to managing your leads and pipeline from Instagram DM, Facebook Messenger, and your email inbox, while you're losing leads in the cracks and leaving clients and money on the table every single month. That's why I created GetBookedCRM. What started out as a way for me to turn strangers into students has quickly become a favorite tool of my private clients and many members in the Leverage Coach community. Get leads and turn them into clients in half the time. Get it while it's still free by finding me over on Instagram and sending me the letters CRM. Second, join my free group for online coaches. I've got hundreds of coaches from all over the world implementing my methods and strategies for starting and growing an online coaching business. And all ships rise in a high tide, and we'd love to have you in. Get access to them, access to me, and access to free resources I've designed, my most popular resources I've designed to help you grow, to help you start and grow your online business. For your free invitation, just find me over on Instagram and send me the word group. Lastly, become my next success story. I'm getting some coaches together this month to implement my methods and frameworks for injecting a minimum of 15K worth of new clients into your online business or doubling your online client roster base over the next 30, 60, 90 days. But working with the right people is super important to me, so only respond to this if you are a relationship-focused coach who always puts a person ahead of the money, you've been coaching for at least 6 months to a year, you'd like to get 3 to 5 clients organically from social media without wasting money and time on paid ads, you have at least 300 friends on a social media platform, Facebook group, or email list, you are willing to take bold action because you know that your success depends upon it. And last but most importantly, you can keep a secret. If that's you, I want you to grab your phone right now, tap that Instagram app icon, find me at What Up Jeremy, follow and binge on some reels and content while you're there. And then when you're ready, I want for you to message me the words case study. When you do that, I'll ask you a couple questions about your online business and your vision for the next 12 months. And then I'll share with you what we have coming up this month in the Get Clients program, how we're already helping students with these methods and frameworks and the results that they're getting. And then we'll identify what part of the program will likely make the biggest impact in your online business the soonest. That way you know what to expect. For all the details, just find me over on Instagram and message me the words case study. That's it for this episode of Client by Client. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you in the next one. Cheers. I hope that something in that episode got across to you and was the thing that you needed to hear most today. If it was, shoot me a message or comment below and let me know. If you made it all the way to the end, give me a pound sign emoji over in the comments. Appreciate you guys big time, and go sell something. You'll feel better for it. All right, guys. Peace out.